Um, so let me introduce Pro Academic first. Pro Academic is a company which Nicola and I run, and we specialize in helping students to gain entries at the top universities in the UK and around the world. We support students with writing a personal statement, with putting forward their applications, selecting universities, but we also give career guidance and support. And our aim is to give you the best chances of gaining places at the universities of your dream. My name is Anya. I have about 10 years experience supporting students, particularly international students, with applying for universities and also giving opportunities to achieve the best academic profile as they move through British education. And I need let Nicola to introduce herself now.
Hi, I'm Nicola, and I've got 30 years experience working in secondary schools in the UK, 24 of that around working as a head of sixth form or working directly with sixth forms who are making applications to university. I'd like to think that in that time that I've picked up the odd trick and have a good success rate at getting students where they want to be.
Excellent. So if you move on to the next slide, please. We also would like to mention the Medicine, Dentistry and Veterinary Science program that we run as one of the support packages that we provide for students. This is a comprehensive program where we work with you from the beginning when you decide to embark on the on the pathway of medical application. So we support your choices, we support your academic progression, we support your application, prepare you for the test, interview, we help you to write competitive, perfect personal statement which will help you to gain a place. And then we'll guide you all the way through to that results day when you get your results and secure your places at the medical school. So we, at the end, will send you links to our website where you'll be able to get more information. But if you have questions, do get in touch. Okay.
Okay, so it's my job to start, and it's my job to welcome Megan and thank her for agreeing to do this. She did agree, although I do think that there was a degree of arm twisting on my behalf to get her to do this. I'm not so sure many people like doing this, but we know how valuable this is to the students who join. So we are thankful and grateful for that. Can you start, Meg, by just telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Megan. I'm a third year medical student at Birmingham Uni. A lot of my time is taken up with medicine, to be honest, but I like to trampoline. I like to run. Yeah, I think it's about having like a good balance. Although medicine is a lot of fun now that I'm in clinical years. So yeah, and also like during this, ask as many questions as you want on the chat function. I think that's how you're going to get like the most out of this, to be honest.
Okay, so Megan, can you tell us why did you decide to apply for the medicine? What sort of driven you against this?
Yeah, so I think like the biggest thing is the fact that I love science. Like I love biology and chemistry. They've always been my favorite subjects. I've not always known that I wanted to do medicine, but they have always been my favorite subjects. And I think by the time I came, like maybe year 10 or year 11, I can't remember thinking, oh, I want to apply for medicine, but I definitely then felt like there wasn't really any other option. I felt like this is all I wanted to do. And if I didn't get into medicine, I would find another route into it. Like I didn't see any other option. I liked the fact that it's practical. I think that's a really big thing for me. I don't want to be sat at a desk. I want to be doing a practical job. And I know it kind of sounds cringy and I feel like everyone says it, but like I did when I applied, really feel like it would be a privilege to like help and care for people and be like there for people at their worst kind of times, and like help them to live a life as full as they can. And I still feel like that. And I don't think you should be applying for medicine if you don't feel like that. I think that's really important. I also have a cousin who was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And I kind of attended his appointment. So I saw kind of like all the contributions of medical professionals. That was really useful as well. I saw how much the doctors and the nurses and the physios and the whole team helped him. And that was huge in deciding that I wanted to do medicine.
I think it's got me.
You managed to mute yourself there, Megan. Well
There
done.
you go. Sorry. Which bit did you get up to?
You just started to talk about Hayden, and now you went with him to his medical appointments, and you were just going through the different people that were involved.
Yeah, so there was a huge team involved, and I think that was a huge part of deciding that medicine was what I wanted to do. And then I think one of the biggest things was work experience. I did so much work experience. I was really lucky that I managed to get all of these opportunities to shadow doctors in hospitals and GP practices, and that really kind of confirmed that I wanted to study medicine. So yeah, I was pretty sure about it when I applied.
I was going to ask you a different question, but you've kind of led me in a different direction. Do you think that work experience was more valuable in confirming that you wanted to do it? You know, it didn't scare you off. It didn't make you think, oh, wow, this is not for me. Or is it more valuable from the point of view of its tick boxes to have something to write for that personal statement? Which do you think is the most important?
I think, well, obviously you do have to have it for your personal statement. I don't know how easy that is at the moment. I imagine that's quite hard, but when I applied, it was definitely it's something you had to do. But I did really, really enjoy it. I did see a lot that should have put me off, but I actually felt more determined because of that. And yeah, I just really, really enjoyed it. I got to see some really cool stuff. I loved kind of just following the doctors along, seeing what they were doing. Really confirmed things for me.
I suppose you hope that's going to be the case. I suppose just quickly on work experience, it is still expected, but they are more flexible about what they consider to be work experience. And a lot of the universities and the medical schools are actually now actively involving themselves in providing opportunities and providing events and live things so that students can do things. It doesn't have to be with a doctor in a hospital. It's about using a bit of imagination and looking at what the medical schools are now actually posting on their websites as acceptable, because they are quite fluid at the moment. They understand what's going on.
Definitely.
Okay.
I mean, it was really hard to get work placement when I was doing it anyway. So I can just imagine how bad it is at the moment.
I think in some ways,
see what you can.
Yeah, it's slightly easier to get access. There's not as much out there, which I suppose contradicts itself. You know, there's not as many opportunities to shadow a GP or go into a hospital. But what opportunities they're presenting, that opportunity is for more than one person. So more people are able to access what's there. So that's got to be a good thing, I guess. Okay.
I mean, it's hard for me to get teaching. So you just got to try and grab every opportunity you can. Like if you have a relation to a doctor, you have their number, just keep pestering, just try and get in, even if it's for an afternoon, just anything really.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so let's take you back to A-levels, the good old days. Can you tell us what A-levels you chose, and did you choose them specifically for that route, or did you kind of do a bit of both?
I think I was lucky in the fact that if I hadn't have decided on medicine, I still would have done these A-levels. So it wasn't like I was choosing them because I wanted to do medicine. So yeah, I think I was quite lucky in that respect. But I did biology, chemistry and maths, and I did an EPQ as well, and I did psychology for a little bit.
I'm
but
hoping she's only gone
then,
temporarily.
oh, have I gone?
No,
I'm still here.
Yeah, it's
Can
fine.
you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
I think you froze there, Nikki. I'm not sure. So yeah, I did biology, chemistry, and maths, and I did an EPQ, and I did psychology for a little bit. But I was advised by my school that it really does not matter how many A levels you have; it matters your grades. So unless I wanted to keep that route open, i.e., I wanted to apply for psychology, I should probably consider dropping it. So I did drop that. I found it interesting, but I needed to focus on getting like my grades for the requirements of university.
Okay, and once the A levels were done, how did you choose your universities? 4 options. You know, what made that final 4?
I went on a lot of open days, which I also appreciate is difficult at the moment. I think I went to 10 open days. My parents were quite happy to go on all these open days with me.
Not what they told me.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun. Yeah, so I live kind of just south of Oxford, near Reading. So I didn't want to be too far away from home. So I kind of drew the line at like Nottingham. And then I didn't want to be in London because I wanted to be in a campus uni. So I guess you've got to think campus or city. There were a few unis that I just didn't think the learning style would suit me. Some of them did like PBL, like problem-based learning. And Birmingham is the only university, I believe, that is traditional, like Oxford and Cambridge. So we have 2 years of preclinical, like 9 to 6 lectures. It's very full on. And then we have 3 years with like barely any lectures, and it's all clinical placement. So it's kind of separate, like in Oxford and Cambridge. But I think most of the other unis are quite integrated courses. So you have like a little bit of clinical, a little bit of lectures, like for every single year. Some years I've heard that they make you sit the same final paper in year 1, and you get like 10% or something in year 1, and then you slowly improve every year. I've heard that's a thing. So have a look at like the course, campus, city, way of learning. I personally didn't like Oxford and Cambridge because it's pretty like, it depends whether you want to be a research doctor or a clinical doctor. Because Oxford and Cambridge do a lot of research and have slightly less clinical exposure than some of the other unis. So it depends what you like. And after all, you're going to end up a doctor at the end of it. So you just got to pick where you kind of fancy, what feels right for you. Yeah, it doesn't really matter really where you go, to be honest. Just go with whatever. Like I went around Birmingham Uni and I thought, I can just really see myself here. Think the city's pretty cool. Nightlife's pretty good. Yeah, you just go with your heart.
Can I touch on, you just touched on
Oh, you're breaking
learning.
up a bit, Nikki.
And that really surprises me because I thought students were more into PBL kind of stuff now. You said you were more attracted to the more traditional route.
Yeah, definitely. I just think I learn a lot more having like a teacher there, having a structure. So I have my structured lectures, and I kind of have more of a route, like things I'm learning. It's more laid out for me. I don't think PBL would really suit me personally, but I have heard really good things about it. I've got a few friends that go to extern. It's quite PBL there and they love it. So yeah, it's whatever suits you.
I guess it's about knowing what suits you.
Yeah, definitely.
We touched briefly on work experience, and I know that you did a lot. Did you kind of move from one experience to another, or did you kind of desperately grab as much as you could all at once?
I just grabbed everything I could at any point, whether it was at a weekend or a half term or summer holidays, whatever I could get hold of. I sent so many emails, just like very random emails that I could find online through contacts. I sent so many emails and I didn't get that many back for the amount of emails I sent. So you've got to be so persistent. just like now, to be honest, like there's not much teaching scheduled. I literally go around begging doctors to teach me. So you've just got to be really proactive, and pick up every opportunity you can. So I did some placement at the community hospital, at the GP, at John Radcliffe in Oxford, Swindon, and then I did some stuff in care home, disabled children's daycare centre. So yeah, just try and grab as much as you can, because it's all helpful. Like, even if you've already ticked them off for your personal statement, it's, if you want to do medicine, you should be interested in just getting as much exposure as possible.
Well, thank you.
And was there any non-medical work experience that you did which you thought was relevant or helpful, that you picked up some skills, or did you specifically focus on the medical experience?
No, so I did do work in a care home, and a disabled children's home. Definitely helpful, definitely helpful, because although it's not medical, it kind of is in a way. Like, there is a lot of medical information you can pick up. I learned a lot about the certain conditions children were living with, and how medication is arranged in care homes and things like that. Yeah, so definitely useful.
Yeah, definitely, and picking up some skills as well, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of skills, just growing in confidence, yeah, having a bit more responsibility, just, yeah, a lot of skills.
Oh, that's great. As Megan mentioned, I mean, this session is intended to be as a conversation, but we also want you to take part in this conversation as well. So if you think of any questions as you're listening to us talking to Meg, just put them in the chat that someone's just did.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
We'll ask them at the end. So
yeah, no question's a silly question.
Just write them in the chat message, and then we'll ask them at the end of the session.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us what else you needed to have in place to make your applications.
I was a bit confused by this question. So yeah, your work placement, check your GCSE and A-level GCSE grades, your A-level predictions match the course. Don't apply for somewhere if your UK CAT or your GCSEs or your A-level predictions don't match, because like they will immediately just discard your application, because they have so many people applying. So yeah, have a look at, so some universities weigh like UK CAT more than GCSEs, more than A-levels. So look at what your strength is and apply, have a few safe options. So like there were a few unis that I applied to that I didn't really, like I wasn't really that in, like they weren't my top choices, but I knew I'd have a really good chance getting into them because the things that I had going for me in my application, they really weighted. So yeah, and do some kind of like leadership and teamwork things like sports and D&V and young enterprise and things like that, because they always love that too.
It's interesting that you were quite analytical about it. Your scientific mind also clearly came to the fore when you were choosing your universities, because you went through how they weighted it, what they wanted, what was more important, and you sound like you made this really kind of strong plan of, you know, what can I provide that's best to suit each one.
Yeah, I made a big table. Of what they wanted for the app, like what they weighted more strongly, what the pros, my particular views on pros of the uni and the cons of their course for me, and yeah, different things like that. And I just made a big table, and that was really helpful.
Okay, I'm going to reverse my next two questions because I know there's quite a few questions coming up related to this. So, UCAT or BMAT, did you do one, and which one?
I did UK CAT, I didn't do BMAT. I would have done BMAT, but I just didn't want to apply to any of the unis that did consider BMAT.
Would you have considered doing both, or did you make the...
I definitely would have done BMAT if I wanted to apply to a BMAT uni. Yeah, it's worth doing it.
Yeah. What prep did you do for your UK CAT, or UCAT as it's now called?
I did a lot. I bought the green book. big fat green book that's like literally massive. Just went through that, and I went through the UK CAT questions online as well. I started really far in advance, but I only did a small amount each day. So I did like, I think I started like a few months before, and then I just did like an hour and a half day or something. So I ended up doing quite a lot, but over a long period of time. And people say that you can really peak with these things. So you don't want to go past your peak either. You want to kind of, yeah, I'm not quite sure how that works. I've just heard that there is a particular peak for these kind of exams. I'm not sure if you know more about that, Nikki. I don't know too much about that, but
how did you find it when you sat it? What was your kind of impression?
It's genuinely, like, I'm not gonna lie, it's genuinely the most stressful exam I've ever done, because it is just question after question after question, like every minute or so for like 2.5 hours or something ridiculous. It's absolutely shattering.
So it's something to be prepared for, definitely.
Oh, definitely. At least get a good night's sleep and drink lots of coffee, because it is bad.
Not a wing it moment then, by the sounds of things. Okay, so moving on beyond the test, and if there's any questions that kind of relate to that, we'll come back to them at the end. So the interview, everybody talks about the interview and the different types, the different styles, and I know it's slightly different this year because all of this going online has meant that a lot of universities have merged, you know, the different styles. But talk to us about your interview experience and what you kind of preferred, didn't like, and any tips and tricks you've got.
So there's like the two main kind of interviews. You have like the traditional kind of like face-to-face conversation style interview, and then you have the MMIs, the multiple mini interviews. And I thought they were quite hard because you can't really wing it, because they're sat there with a checklist of things that they have to tick off that you need to say in order for them to tick off. So sometimes you think, oh, I came across really articulate and I'm sure I said a lot of good things, but if they weren't the things on their list, then it didn't really count. Whereas I didn't think the content of what I said in the traditional interview was very good, but I think because I came across quite confident and showed them those kind of skills, then it kind of ended up being okay. So it's what you feel like you'd be best at, but I think most of them are MMIs. So
I think there's a little bit of both at the moment, because MMI, in the true sense that you experienced, is almost impossible to do. So they're kind of trying to merge bits of both. But my understanding from having heard an admissions tutor speak, and I think it was Liverpool, he said they're liking the fact that they're merging both styles in there. They're getting to see different aspects of different people. So I guess that fits with you.
Yeah.
MMI, scenario based or a mixture, or was it all scenario?
Complete mixture. Like, I had some role play ones. I had to comfort actors about, can't really remember now, but they were upset and I had to comfort them. There were some kind of clinical skills. I remember I had to do like a urine dip and like follow the instructions. There were some that would just like tell me about your work experience. There were some, I think now. There were ones with like pictures of like rashes and stuff, and I had to say like what they might be. Like literally it could be anything.
No idea.
Could be absolutely anything. But so I did a few like interview like days, like workshops and stuff, and I know some people are like, I'm not like, they weren't sure whether that kind of thing was helpful, but for me, like, it was definitely helpful. And it was especially helpful, the group interview kind of sessions, because you could see what other people said. So I realized that everybody in the room was answering D of E to the questions. So I was like, when I go into my interview, I'm not going to mention my D of E, because otherwise I just sound like everyone else. So that was really helpful, because you can kind of see who you're like competing against and what they're going to say, and then try and think of something different to say. And yeah, I just think any practice is good practice. any of those UK CAT sessions, and anything is good. Any opportunities are good.
Doing more than D of E is fairly critical if you want to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's important, but I think, yeah, you've got to be able to explain what you got from D of E that isn't just the cliche leadership skills. Like, you've got to have some good examples.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Shall we look at the personal statement?
Yeah, sure.
This is the one which lots of people have questions about. So Nicola
Okay.
actually read your personal statement, and she's got some comments that she wanted to sort of start with.
Hold on.
I don't know whether you remember when you sent it to me, but still to this day, it remains unique. I've never seen another personal statement like it. Now, you know, for those people who are watching, it wasn't wild, it wasn't wacky, it wasn't any of those things, but it was much more like a piece of written prose. Often people are encouraged to write personal statements in sections, and each section kind of ticks a box as far as content is concerned. And yours seem to throw that rule out of the window. And as a reader, it was like reading a story. I know it wasn't fiction, and that came from two things. It was obvious it wasn't fiction, but I also obviously know you, and so knew some of what you were talking about. But for me, the way in which you wrote it engaged me as a reader. I kind of got into the story and read it to the end. Were you given that as a tip, or... I mean, if somebody came up with that idea, I hold my hat to them because it was brilliant, but it's risky. It doesn't follow that normal kind of accepted path. Can you give us the background?
I think I just wrote why I wanted to do medicine, and I wrote it kind of from my heart. And then afterwards, I looked at the checklist, and then I thought, have I included this? Have I included that? Instead of writing it checkbox at a time, I literally just thought, why do I want to do medicine? Wrote it, and then added a few things in that I thought, okay, I kind of need to say that. I kind of need to say that I like reading, or that I have done this particular thing that shows my leadership skills. But yeah, I added those things afterwards.
It still to this day, whenever anybody asks, that's the one that I hold as kind of like a bit of a benchmark. But
thank you. That's so
nice
kind.
to hear that context behind it, because you wonder whether a school's gone, no, let's try being brave and give it a go like this, or whether or not it literally came from the heart. Brave move, because I'm not so sure everybody could write it like that, but I think you managed to answer what we refer to as the so what question, but you did it really fluidly. You know, it's not just what have you done, it's what difference has that made? You know, why has that led you down this path?
Yeah, thank you. Compliment, thank you.
It's not necessarily what I'd recommend for everybody, but it suited you, and it suited that huge amount of experience that you've got. I think that was the key to it. You grounded it in everything that you've done, and then weaved a story through it. And I'm not so sure everybody's fortunate enough to have that level of experience. But
but everyone is unique. Everyone can write from their heart. If you're writing cliche things that you've seen, like you can read personal statements online, but they will be the same personal statements that everyone's read. And if you can get inspiration from them, but don't use them to write yours, because then yours won't be unique, and everybody is unique. Everybody has that ability to write unique personal statements. That's what I'd say.
Okay.
We've actually asked Megan to read her personal statement for us and record it. So if you follow us on social media, if you're interested to hear the personal statement, do follow us, and hopefully we'll be able to release it soon, because it is a great personal statement. It's very inspirational to read as well.
Thank you.
So shall we talk about life at university then? Tell us what's it like to study at university.
So as I mentioned, Birmingham's quite a traditional university. So we had 2 years of lectures, and they were literally 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. lectures with, if you're lucky, an hour break, like lunch break. Like it was pretty hard. But third year is a lot more relaxed. So I think we had like 2 weeks of lectures in September, and then a week of lectures in January. Other than that, we have Monday to Thursday hospital placement. Every other Friday is GP placement, and then every other Friday between that is essay writing day. And my day-to-day life is, so I've got a few clinical skills that I need to get signed off. Just things like cannulas, bloods, ECGs, observations, ophthalmoscopy, otoscopy, different things like that. And I basically go up to doctor, I'm like, do you have anything I can help with? Can I follow you around? Do you have any clinical skills that I can do and get signed off? That kind of thing. And then I have some of the 5th year medics teach me. I have some foundation year doctors teaching me. I have some consultants teaching me. And then, yeah, I just make friends with other doctors, get their numbers and arrange teaching sessions. So you have to be quite proactive. If you wanted to go in, sign in and go home, like you absolutely could, but you probably wouldn't pass the year. So you have to be proactive in getting all those opportunities. And if you love medicine, you will, hopefully.
Yeah. And at the moment, it's obviously quite different. Everything is different at the moment because of the pandemic. So how do you find what it's like now at the moment in the medical
system? It's difficult because obviously people don't really want you in the wards because you're just an infection risk, and we're allowed to go to whatever wards we want or wherever we want to go in the hospital. So I think people see us as a little bit of an infection risk because we can go anywhere. You still hear me?
Oh, yes, we can.
I'm not sure if you can still hear me. You've frozen.
Your picture's frozen. Wait for a second.
Still there?
We can still hear you. Yeah, we can still hear you. The technology.
The joys of.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. I don't know where he went then. You froze.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little bit tricky because it's just the exposure risk. There's also a lot of COVID in the hospital, so you find you're doing a lot of respiratory exams, and I've really nailed the respiratory examination now, but the neuro exam and the other examinations are kind of hard to get your hands on. Like surgeries have been cancelled, and I was super interested in that. Yeah, it's been difficult, and like I've only just met my consultant this week that I was supposed to meet in January because he's been too busy to teach us. But there are other opportunities, and you've got to be proactive. So I feel really lucky to have a reason to like go out of the house in the morning, and I feel really lucky to have that at the moment because a lot of people don't.
Do you feel as though you're missing out on that kind of rounded medicine education because everything's been put on hold?
I don't really feel like I'm missing out too much because I am allowed to go anywhere I want in the hospital. So I do get to see an awful lot and I get to do an awful lot. It's just teaching might not be planned for me. I have to be more proactive in getting the teaching. And yeah, obviously the surgeries, and we've not been going into GP placement as much, but we still have been going in. So yeah, I feel like it's quite normal at the moment for a med student. Just a lot of COVID patients instead of other patients, but still good.
So assuming the next few years go according to plan, what is your plan?
Oh, sorry, you broke up there. I missed that, Nikki.
The rest of your training goes according to plan. What is your future plan? Any thoughts yet?
Okay, so this changes like on a weekly basis depending on what patients I've seen, which consultants have given me some inspiration on their favorite area. But I think cardiology has been pretty solid for me for quite a while. I'm also interested in emergency medicine. I love being in A&E. I just think it's so much fun. Just so much going on. I did a night shift in A&E and that was super cool. Yeah, that's my interest in. Pediatrics, possibly. Obs and gynae, but I've been on and off, not sure. So yeah,
A
that's my
fair
plan.
range. I don't know whether you've lost me now because I can see you, but you obviously can't hear. Okay,
No, I didn't lose you.
okay,
Yeah.
good. So kind of going back to the people that are watching, what skills do you think a medical student or doctor, when you qualify, needs? What are the most important skills?
Okay, I made a few notes on
I was
this.
just going to say you've clearly made
Okay, so I think you need to be confident. You need to be confident enough to walk up to random people in the hospital and say, can I help with this? Can you give me teaching on this? And that's how you're going to get the learning. You've got to be professional. So you have OSCEs, which are your practical exams, and people say that half of it is like your bedside manner and your professionalism rather than what you actually say. You have to be really organized, just so you don't let people down. If you say you're going to meet a doctor at 11:30, you've got to meet them at 11:30 because they're busy. And you've got to be organized to be able to fit in your lectures and your essays and revision around placement, things like that. You've got to be really committed. Like, you've got to be willing to go the extra mile for people and for the learning. You've got to have ambition. So like, you've got to feel really buzzed when you learn about medicine. Like, you've got to have that ambition. You've got to have determination even when you fail. So for example, the other day I took bloods from a very elderly woman who was literally dying with lung cancer, and I wasn't too confident, but I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a go. I was on my own, and I missed the bloods, and because she had a massive tendency to bruise, I gave her a massive bruise on her arm, and I was so upset about this. Like, I was like really upset because I thought if a doctor had gone and done it, she wouldn't have needed to have that blood test twice. But I went, and because I haven't practiced bloods as much as a foundation doctor has, it meant that she had to have that done twice. I felt really bad about that, but you've got to have the strength to kind of accept your failures and learn from them and move on. You need to genuinely care. Like, you can go into other professions that are easier to get into, that probably pay more, that probably have a less hours, but so you've got to really genuinely care. And you shouldn't be too competitive. You should want to work as a team. That's one thing I did find from going from school to med school, because at school you're all kind of competing for those top marks because only the certain percentage of people can get those top marks. Med school, you can all pass. If you all do well, you can all pass. So we all share our notes around. I have medic mums, medic dads, medic cousins that all send me their notes. It's like a big family of people. We're quite cliquey, and yeah, we all send each other notes and things, and you've got to want to be a big part of the team. So yeah, those are the things I would say.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Do you have any recommendations for resources or courses that students might be interested in medicine could do now? Particularly resources for preparation for tests or interview. There's quite a few questions about that as well. Anything you'd recommend?
Okay, I can't remember the name. I will find out, but I can't remember the name of the interview courses that I did. But I'll let you know. Maybe you can pass it on to the students. But any of them that you see advertised online are going to be helpful in some way. Just seeing who you're competing against, seeing what their answers would be, getting confidence to speaking in front of groups of people, like, it's all helpful. Yeah, I made some notes on this as well. The BMJ, if you've heard of it, British Medical Journal, it's a great place just to read and gain some insight. And then weirdly enough, like watching Grey's Anatomy, I've watched it all like 3 times. 24 Hours in A&E, Call the Midwife. Like, it's actually crazy how much you pick up from that kind of stuff. Like, when consultants ask me questions and I realize that I've answered based on what I've seen from Grey's Anatomy, like, you do pick up a lot more than you than you think you might, and it's fun to watch. So yeah, I did go to a few conferences. I went to like Sheffield's cardiothoracic one, which is kind of weird because it was a whole load of foundation year doctors applying for their specialty training, and then I hadn't even got into med school yet, and I was there. But it was useful. I got to speak to loads of doctors. So things like that. I did a young doctors program, I think it's called. I think it's just called that. I'm not sure. But yeah, any webinars, literally anything's good.
Excellent. Well done. Shall we look at the questions? We have lots of questions, which is quite exciting. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, sure.
There's quite a few of them we've already covered. So let's have a look. Interview tips. Your experience. You did share. Anything else you think for the interview you want to mention that people should be aware of?
If you don't know the answer, just say, hold on a second, let me just think about that. And that is completely okay. And you can just have 20 seconds or whatever, just thinking about it to yourself. And then you can act all composed and give it like a composed answer rather than being like, not sure. So just, just try and calm, say, I'm just going to need a second to think about that. Like, that's completely okay.
Would you agree that it's as much about the process of working the answer out as it is knowing?
Yeah, definitely. Because those MMIs, those checklists are, just steps of your working to get to the answer. Definitely.
Did you do any practice interviews with anyone?
Breaking up a bit.
Yeah, also, did you do
this isn't my wife.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You're back now. Did you do any practice interviews?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my school was actually quite good. They put on a few. And yeah, I went to the the in-person courses, the interview courses. I did one at UCL, I think.
Yeah, you seem to have done a lot of preparation, which obviously paid off. Okay, someone's interested what grades you got with your A levels. What did you achieve at the end of year 12? And
so I got an A star in biology, and then an A in both maths and chemistry, and then an A star in my EPQ.
Excellent.
My offer for Birmingham was A star AA. So
what was your EPQ on, Megan?
My EPQ was on depression, but like the like it was quite scientific. It was about like the neurochemistry of depression.
Okay. Did anybody ask you about it on interview, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, that definitely did. And I brought it up a lot when people, when I got asked about my time management or anything extra that I've done, I brought that up, and that was always a good thing to include because it's unique because you choose your own questions.
Definitely. There's the question here about medical science at A level. Do you think that would be helpful to do, Nicola, as well?
Say that again. What did I think
about medical science at A level?
Medical sciences, did you say?
Medical science, yeah. Is that
you're breaking up. I can't hear you very well. 1 sec.
I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Conversation.
Yeah, I can hear you, Nikki.
As an A level, I think my initial concern, medical science as an A level, one, it's not massively used, and two, you would need to, just like Megan said, check the entry requirements of the university. If in doubt, an email and ask them what they think of that A level, because they'll come straight back at you with whether they like it or not. And you might find that because it says medical science, you think it's ideal, and actually it's taking you too far away from the core content of biology and chemistry that they need. So I think if in doubt, check, would be my opinion on that one.
Agree.
Yeah, definitely. I know biology and chemistry is often needed, but I know loads of people on my course that did biology, chemistry and history, or biology, chemistry and like a humanities or psychology or another science. And I think personally, it would be hard to go into medicine without having done chemistry and biology. So I think that's why they require those things, but maths I don't really think I use.
Still a good A level to have. Yeah. Okay, so next question. There's a good question from Tony here. She is asking about timelines. So if you look back to your year 12, what should be done at different stages starting from year 12 onwards? So
what should I do differently, did you say?
No, so Tony is asking if give her an average timeline of what to do during year 12. What to do, for example, every month.
Oh, I'm not sure I can remember. Oh, I'm really not sure I can remember.
When did you start
I
doing
think I did a different work placement at every, like, basically every holiday. I did a different work placement. But I was still doing work placement after I submitted my application.
Yeah.
Just because it was really interesting.
Yes, and you enjoyed it.
And I had the opportunity, and I enjoyed it, and it would all help when hopefully when I was in medical school. So when I got into medical school, so yeah, I continue to grasp those opportunities.
Yeah, because it's.
I'm guessing you must. Sorry, Annie. Go on.
Yeah, it's also about preparation, isn't it? Not just ticking boxes for your personal statement. It's really getting the skills and learning about everything which is then going to be useful to you when you do become a doctor. Right, there's a question here about research. When you research your medical schools, what should be taken into account? And you did touch on that a little bit. Is there anything else you want to add?
Yes, so so consider how far it is from home, if that's consideration for you, whether it's campus or city, whatever you prefer, what the learning style is, PBL, traditional, integrated, and know what that is before you go to interview, because sometimes they ask you, why did you pick this course? So know about that. Anatomy, whether you want prosec or dissection. So dissection is when you do it yourself. I know Nottingham literally assign you to a body for like your entire medical course, which is a bit weird. But Birmingham, it's like prosec, so they will do all the dissection for you, and then you just look at it. Whether nightlife is important for you, and certain medsoc events and opportunities and sports teams. So I do trampolining, and that was really good here. Med school is also the biggest in the country here, and they do loads of really fun stuff. And yeah, talk to people you know, look at websites, watch YouTube vids and TikToks about like a day in the life of a med student at different universities and things. That's all helpful.
Quite a few really good Instagram pages around as well.
Yeah,
and other frontline, and I think you get really good ideas of how they work together as well as what their life is like.
Yeah.
There's a good question here. If you could go back and redo your application, what would you change? And what you didn't do before to make the application easier?
To make my application better, did you say? I missed the last bit.
If you could redo it, what would you change?
What would I change? I'm not sure. I did quite a lot of work for my application.
I think you're allowed to say you wouldn't change anything if you think that you.
It's quite a long time ago as well. I can't really think.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it got me where I want to get to, so I haven't really thought about that before.
Key things that came out of your
make a bit of a mistake at Nottingham. I just panicked in an interview, so I didn't get into Nottingham, and that was one of my quite high on my list. So yeah, maybe to be a bit more calmer for my interviews, definitely.
I think key things that have come out of it for me were preparation, research, planning, lots of work experience, and a personal statement written from the heart. And you know, I don't know whether Meg can hear us, but I think if you can get that process going, it's going to be pretty good. Something good is going to come out at the end of it.
So we still experience some technical challenges, but I don't know, Nicola, whether you know. Oh, okay, I think she's back. You're back.
Sorry, I'm trying a different Wi-Fi. It's student Wi-Fi. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Did you get all your offers? You said you didn't get one.
Yes, I didn't get Nottingham or Cardiff. I got Birmingham and Southampton. I got all 4 interviews, and then 2 offers.
Okay, excellent.
Quickly, while Anya's reading the next question, do you sense a difference between your performance in the 2 that you were offered and 2 that you weren't? Do you know perhaps what went wrong, or is it just a personal thing?
I know where I went wrong in Nottingham very badly. I got asked what I would do if there was someone, I can't remember, I think a tree had fallen down and was like crushing a man or something like that, what I would do. And they were conscious and talking to me, and I panicked. You know, when you just completely panic, my brain went fuzzy. I thought I was going to faint. It was quite bad. And I just went, I'll give a CPR. I'll give CPR. I'll give CPR. And that was obviously not the right answer. So yeah, be calm, take a minute to compose yourself if you're stressed, because that's entirely normal, like to be pretty stressed because it's stressful.
Yeah, good tip. Okay, next question. Since the start of being a medical student, what would you say have been the most difficult part of it so far?
Just kind of feeling like a spare part, and kind of constantly getting rejected by people. Yeah, and having to stand around a lot waiting for things that you can join in or watch, and then them not going ahead. And yeah, everyone's so busy that you're just kind of standing around a little bit like a spare part, but there's lots of ways you can get involved and lots of ways you can help. So yeah,
do you think
that's probably the hardest part?
That's a victim of current circumstances more than normal?
A little bit more, yeah. It definitely is a thing. Like, there is a massive hierarchy in medicine. You have the consultants, you have the junior doctors, you have the medical students. But yeah, it is a lot harder because of coronavirus, because yeah, you are just an infection risk as well.
Yeah. Do you remember your UCAT score? Was it high?
Oh my goodness, I can't remember my UK CAT score at all. I wouldn't even know what the kind of numbers are or the ranges. I can't remember. I can find out though.
You've got rid of that. That's gone.
I cannot remember. I'm so sorry. All I know is that I had a massive range between the different components of it.
Right. Interesting.
That's all I can remember, but that didn't matter.
How long did it take you to write your personal statement?
A long while. Like, I think I want to say like a few months. Yeah. So it just started as like a little bit of a prose about why I wanted to be a medical student. And then I started to add like more of my work placement in, started to go through the checklists. Yeah, I started quite far in advance and just did little and often, like with the UK CAT.
That's great. There's a good question here about how to maintain work-life balance. What do you do to make sure that you have that balance in your life? Or maybe you don't.
I don't really think it's as hard as everyone says. People say, oh, when you're a medical student, you have no time. You definitely have a lot more time than when you, from what I've heard, than when you become a junior doctor. So you must make the most of it. Yeah, I guess it's difficult to answer that question at the moment because I don't actually, like, obviously there's nothing else to do. So I do have quite a lot of time. Third year at Birmingham is quite a magical year. There's like not much going on. You have a lot of free time. But second year and fourth year are apparently really bad. So it just varies with the different years and the different amounts of workload. But you can definitely still, I mean, in first year I was still going out just as much as all my other housemates that were doing, my flatmates that were doing other courses. And in second year I didn't live with any other medics. I do now, but then I lived with all my housemates were doing different courses, and I didn't ever feel like I couldn't go out because of my workload.
Okay, that's great. There's a couple more questions about your application, which I think we've covered. Did you have a mentor or someone who helped you to prepare your application?
Yeah, I was quite lucky. I had someone at school that was kind of employed to help medical students get into medicine. So I felt, yeah, super lucky to have her to help me, like just reading my personal statement, giving me pointers. She was quite harsh as well, so that was helpful. Gave me like practice interviews, and I had a lot of people in my year applying for medicine, so we kind of all spoke about it quite regularly. Like my two best friends at sixth form both are at Southampton doing medicine now, so we used to quiz each other, do practice interviews with each other, so it's quite lucky in that respect.
You can see here our email address, our Facebook page, and also our Instagram page. On Instagram page, we share a lot of information, useful tips for application. So follow us on Instagram and Facebook, but also here's our email. So if you have any questions or if you need help with anything, just get in touch. You know, we'll be really, really happy to help you. And we've got some messages here just saying, thank you so much, Megan, for sharing. It's been very, very helpful, and good luck with your, with your application.
Yeah, that's okay, and good luck to all of you, like applying for medicine. If it's really what you want to do, you will get there somehow. So yeah, best of luck.
Yeah, that's great. So thank you so much for attending. There's more messages of thank you. People said they really appreciated it, so it's great.
Yeah, any questions, literally, please email. Yeah. I'm happy to answer any emails.
Okay, thank you so much for attending. It's been a pleasure, and all the best.
Thanks, Megan.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.